Today, we're jumping straight into a highly personal financial audit. And look, this isn't just theory, it's a look in the mirror. I promise you, the insights we're about to unpack could completely change your financial reality if you stick with me to the very end. We're breaking down the 5 levels of wealth step by step so you can figure out exactly where you stand right now.
So, I want you to be totally honest with yourself for a second. You wake up, what's the very first thing you do? For so many of us, before we even get out of bed, we're grabbing our phones, opening up a banking app, and checking our account balance. It's almost a reflex, isn't it?
And that number on the screen, it's not just a number. It's this invisible force that controls your mood for the rest of the day. It controls your decisions. Honestly, it dictates your entire life. Think about it. That single number dictates what you're allowed to eat today, where you can afford to live. And most importantly, it dictates whether you sleep peacefully when the bills come in or whether you're lying awake staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m. with a knot in your stomach.
In this explainer, we'll be defining wealth beyond just rich people, looking at the ladder from poverty to millionaire, identifying exactly where you stand, and uncovering what it actually takes to move up.
Okay, level 1, pure survival.
Let's start right at the bottom. It's a place literally nobody wants to be, but tragically, it's where so many people are trapped right now. It's the stage of pure survival, where you aren't really living, you're just surviving day to day. At this poverty level, you're forced to account for every single dollar. And let's be clear, you aren't doing this because you're some sort of financial mastermind, right? You're doing it out of harsh necessity. One single, unexpected small expense, a flat tire, a medical bill, and your entire month is completely wrecked. Money doesn't work for you here. It actively, relentlessly works against you.
This level forces you into these agonizing micro decisions every single day. You find yourself thinking, do I put petrol in the car today so I can get to work, or do I buy groceries for dinner? You know exactly which local shop marks down their perishable items late at night. But the absolute scariest part? The mental stress. It just never switches off. It's an exhausting, heavy burden that you carry 24/7.
Moving up, we hit level 2, just surviving.
Now we transition to the next rung of the ladder. People here usually have a job and somehow manage to scrape their way through to the end of the month without collapsing. If you ask someone at this level how they're doing, they'll almost always give you this exact quote: "I'm getting by." But let's look at the hard truth behind those words. Getting by is really just a polite way of saying you are exactly one paycheck away from total financial disaster. Your income practically vanishes into thin air. I mean, rent eats up half of everything you earn right off the top. The remaining 50%, that gets instantly swallowed up by bills, food, and daily expenses. And at the end of the month, nothing left. Literally zero. At level 2, people constantly comfort themselves with a very specific lie. You tell yourself, once my pay goes up, once I get that raise, everything's going to be fine. But here's the hard truth based on the data. Expenses always grow faster than income. A slight bump in your paycheck usually just means you buy a slightly nicer car or maybe rent a slightly nicer apartment. You stay trapped on the exact same treadmill. You're just running a little faster.
Right, level 3, the comfort trap.
This is the great middle-class illusion of safety. It's the level where people finally let out a breath and feel a bit more at ease. The panic of levels 1 and 2? That seems like it's behind you. At level 3, you actually have some savings. You look at your banking app in the morning and you see a few $1,000s sitting there. And yeah, seeing that number definitely makes you feel secure. It's a nice buffer. But make no mistake, having a few grand in the bank does not mean you're financially free, not even close.
At this stage, the catchphrase shifts from "I'm getting by" to "I'm doing fine." The crucial point here is that this mindset is the biggest lie of level 3, because you aren't actually fine. You're just sitting incredibly comfortably inside a trap. You've got golden handcuffs on, but they are still handcuffs.
Here's the core friction of the comfort trap. At level 3, you're still actively trading your precious, limited time for your income. Think about it. If you stop working tomorrow, if you just stop showing up, well, the money stops too. Your livelihood is entirely dependent on your ongoing physical presence and effort. Which brings us to the final levels. Wealth. Now we get to break out. We're leaving those restrictive levels behind and entering the expansive stages where the ceiling completely lifts off and the rules of the game fundamentally change. This is the ultimate paradigm shift. At level 3, you trade time for money and rely on a job. But at level 4, money works for you and you rely on a system. The game completely changes from breaking your back for cash to setting up a structure where your money works tirelessly for you. Let's walk through the actual mechanics of level 4, which is all about growing wealth. People at this level don't just stash their cash in a savings account to be eaten alive by inflation. They build investments. They acquire assets that actually appreciate in value. They create multiple income streams so they're never ever reliant on just one single source. They inherently understand the golden rule of wealth. A job doesn't make you rich, a system does. And finally, we reach the absolute pinnacle, level 5, wealthy. This is where you enjoy ultimate freedom. At this level, your life decisions are no longer dictated by money. They are dictated entirely by time and choice. You work because you want to, not because you have to. It is the ultimate state of financial liberation. Okay, let's talk about changing your financial reality. We've mapped out all 5 levels, and by now you probably know exactly which rung of the ladder you're standing on. But here's the wake-up call. Your level isn't going to magically change on its own. Nobody is coming to just bump you up to the next bracket because you're a good person. If you want a new reality, you have to engineer it. To move up that ladder, you've got to execute 3 required steps. First, change your thinking. Stop seeing money as something you just spend and start seeing it as a tool to build systems. Second, change your habits because what you do daily compounds. And third, change your decisions. The choices you make with your investments, with your career, they matter deeply. Your financial reality today absolutely does not have to be your reality forever, but it requires intentional, systemic change from you. So I'll leave you with this. We started out by asking where you are on the ladder, but the real question, the only question that actually matters right now, is do you want to stay there? When you grab your phone tomorrow morning and look at that bank account, what are you going to do to change the numbers staring back at you? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.